Hello everyone, I am Vibha Chauhan and welcome to Jain Classes Funda Clear. So today I will explain Class 8 History Chapter 9. Chapter is the making of the national movement 1870s to 1947. So in the previous chapter till now we have looked at the British conquest over territories, over kingdoms of India, introduction of new rules, new regulations, new changes, administration institutions, changing the lives of peasants and tribals, debates over the women condition, social and political reforms, the revolt of 1857 and its aftermath, and the decline of the crafts and the growing of the industries. So after reading all this, after studying all this, we see that people were discontent, people were dissatisfied with this all, and we will discuss in this chapter about the national movements which took place between 1870s to 1947. We will discuss about the national movements, how were those formed, what were those, and who loved this. So we will discuss all about this. So what are the topics of this chapter? The topics of this chapter are the emergence of nationalism, and in this we will study a nation in the making, freedom is our birthright, the growth of mass nationalism, the advent of the Mahatma Gandhi, the Rowlatt Satyagraha, Khilafat agitation and the non-cooperation movement, people's initiatives, the People's Mahatma, the happenings of 1922 to 1929, the march to Dandi, quit India and later towards independence and partition. So our first topic is the emergence of nationalism. So between 1870 to 1880, people's feeling of nationalism was rising. They were saying because between those decades, a question was raising that what was India and who is it meant for? And the answer was that India was all the people of India, irrespective of their caste, color, race, and their creed and their gender. So this was answer, and the India, its resources were meant for all of them. But they were saying that under the British rule, under the British control, they were not satisfied. They were excising the India, and they know that under British rule, the India could not be for Indians. So they wanted to they wanted to over the British rule from India. So many organizations were formed, many associations were formed, like Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, like Madras Mahajan Sabha, like the Indian Association, and of course the Indian National Congress. So these organizations were formed, and most of them were led by English educated persons like lawyers, because they were well studied and they knew about the constitution, they knew about the law. So they wanted to make a change. They were more intensified with Britishers after 1880s, or you can say by the 1880s, because new laws were formed against them. Like in 1878, the Arms Act was introduced, in which Indians were not allowed for possessing arms. And in the same year, new law, which was Vernacular Press Act, was also introduced, in which people were not allowed, if people were spreading their thoughts over people with newspapers, with articles, with using the press, and if the Britishers found it objectionable on their basis of view, on their point of view, then they would trial, they would sentence them, then they would arrest them. So this was the law which was against Indians. And in 1883, Albert Bale, who was a British government official, wanted to pass a law that was the Britishers arrested people, the Britishers prisoners were not taken to Indian judges. They were taken only to British judges. That was inequality. So Albert Bale wanted those to be trial under Indian judges, so there would be equality. But Whitehall opposed this, and this enraged the people of India. They were outraged with this. So these all were the problems, these all were the laws by which people of India, by which the political leaders, by which the reformers of India very outraged. And many of people were trying to make a change, were trying to make movements. And the Indian National Congress, which was established in December in 1885 with 72 delegates. The earliest leadership was mainly from Bombay and Calcutta, which was done by Nanabhai Darobji, W.C. Banerjee, Surendranath Banerjee, Badruddin Tyabji. Many of these leaders and many of were those. So many leaders, 72 delegates formed Indian National Congress, and a retired government official, British official A.O. Hume also supported this, also brought many leaders from different parts of country. And Nanabhai Darobji, who was the, you can say, main leader of this, was a publicist who was settled in India and was also had been the member of parliament of British government. But he formed Indian National Congress in 1885. So they were thinking about doing work, they were thinking about movements. The feeling of nationalism was rising among these. So our first subtopic is a nation in the making. So for the first 20 years of the Congress, the political leaders of the Congress were considered as moderates by their objectives, by their methods of work. They were considered as moderates, and they had a greater voice for the Indian people in administration. They wanted more people, more Indian people in administration, and they wanted legislative assembly, legislative council to be more powerful and to be representative of administration, and it had to be existed where it had none. So this was their demand, and for this they wanted civil services exam in India as well, not only in London, because before the civil services exam were held only in London, not in India. So people from India had to go to London, that far away. So the Congress wanted civil services exams in India, and the Indianization of administration was a part of movement against racism, because most of the positions were held by white, and Britishers thought that the Indian people could not be given the responsibility work, which was in high responsibility. They thought that they could not handle it. So Congress demanded for Indianization of administration, and they also raised the issues, economic issues, which were based on economy. They declared that the Britishers had led poverty and famines in India because of high revenues. Peasants and zamindars were in poverty, the India in poverty, and due to excess export of food grain from India to Britain led to many food shortages, led to many famines in India. So they declared that Britishers were responsible for those. And moderates' main concept was to develop awareness among people about the Britishers, that they were wrong, and they were criticizing Britishers by publishing newspapers, by writing articles, and spread to it different parts of countries. It was not that only in one part, they were spreading it in different parts of country. They were spreading their thoughts, they were spreading by publishing newspaper, writing articles, and they wanted, because they knew that they felt that Britishers accepted, Britishers liked the freedom, liked the idea of freedom, liked the idea of liberty, and the Congress just had to accept them, make them accept, had to deal with them by their thoughts, with their freedom, with their concept of freedom. So this was all about the moderates, a nation in the making. What was nation in first? Moderates. So our next subtopic is freedom is our birthright. So as I have already talked about the moderates of Congress, but by the 1890s, political leaders that were rising were considered as extremists. They were opposed to moderates by their methods, by their objectives. They said that it was wrong about the politics of prayers because they were only doing in silence. They were only doing by moderates were only doing work only by writing articles, by publishing newspapers, but extremist thoughts were totally different. They said that they had to fight for Swaraj, and you can learn that there were many extremist leaders, and most popular extremist leaders were Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai and Bipin Chandra Pal, and these three were called as Bal Pal Bal. So these were the extremists, and they said that they had to fight for Swaraj, and Tilak raised a slogan that was freedom is his birthright and I shall have it. So he said that for the Swaraj they had to fight, and even they had to boycott Britishers, then they would do. But modest thought was totally different, as I have already talked, and the situation changed in 1905 when Viceroy Curzon partitioned Bengal, and during that time Bengal was the biggest province in India, which included Bihar, which included parts of Orissa. So Viceroy Curzon partitioned Bengal and said that for the administration convenience, but in reality that they did because they wanted to split Bengali people and the leaders that were raising in Bengal, because people used to do meetings mostly in Bengal. So that's why he partitioned Bengal, so that to people split up, so that the people would split up, the leaders' influence would be low, and he partitioned Bengal, and political leaders, people were infuriated by this. All Indians were infuriated by this, were outraged by this, were angry by this, and they struggled for this, and the struggle known to be as Swadeshi movement. In this movement, people boycotted British things and said that they had to fight, and extremists also part in this, moderates also took part in this. Both moderates and extremist parts of Congress took part in this, and they said that they had to use their own language, they had to use their own things, Swadeshi enterprises. Swadeshi means their own. They had to use their Swadeshi enterprises, Indian languages, and had to boycott Britishers. And this Swadeshi movement was largest in Bengal during that time, and its echoes were elsewhere too. For example, in Andhra Pradesh, it was called as Vande Mataram movement, and this was the largest in Bengal, not in the country. But this partition of Bengal was supported by some leaders. In 1906, some Muslim landlords, some Muslim Nawaz made a league that was called as All Muslim India League, and they supported this partition because they thought, they said that it was different, it was partition between Hindu and Muslim, so that they would get their own Muslim electorates, because they wanted their own, they wanted their another electorates, and so for this they had council reserved in votes, in reserved in elections, so that Muslim voters could vote them. So All India Muslim League supported this partition of Bengal. But as I have said that moderates and extremist thoughts were different, so in 1907 Congress split up. Moderates were totally opposed of the use of boycott because they thought that it involved the force, it involved the use of force on people, on other people, on Britishers, and they were totally opposed this. So in 1907 Congress was split up, and it came to be dominated by moderates, and the extremists were now totally apart from Congress. And in 1915 they again joined each other, and the next year Congress and All India Muslim League joined together. They joined together with the popular historic pact, that was Lucknow Pact, and they signed a treaty in which they had to do work together to representative as a representative of government of India. So this was all about the extremist. Freedom is our birthright. So next topic is the growth of mass nationalism. So by the 1919, after 1919, there was a kind of growth of mass nationalism. As I've already talked about, movements in states that was limited in area, but after 1919 these were grown, these were spread throughout the country, and it came to be a growth of mass nationalism. All people from India were supporting these movements, women or from any gender, from every gender, all upper class people or lower class people, factory workers, peasants, tribal communities, all people were supporting these movements, and they were already outraged with Britishers after World War I, as we have already seen in previous chapters, because after World War, Britishers had demanded for many things at increased taxes on the items for India, and for common people it was very hard to afford those. So they also supported those leaders, supported in these movements, took part in these movements, because they were already outraged with the situations after World War. And so for this, a growth of mass nationalism could be seen. There was a mass nationalism all from the people of India, all from throughout the India. So our first subtopic is the advent of Mahatma Gandhi. So in 1915, Mahatma Gandhi returned back to India from South Africa, and he was already a known leader, and he came to be known as a mass leader, which included he was known because in South Africa he had already done many movements. He had already done on the basis of against of the inequality of racism. So he was already a known leader, and in India he came to be known as mass leader. And in India, when he came, he spent his first year in traveling throughout the country, in visiting throughout the country, in watching the situation, looking the situation of the country. Because if we are doing something for people, then we have to look at their situation first. So in the first year, after the first year of his returning back to India in 1916, whole year he spent traveling throughout the country, looking at the situation of people, peasants, tribal, of all people. His earliest movements were Champaran Andolan and movements in Ahmedabad. So these were his earliest. So he spent his first year on India for traveling, so that he can so that he can make a movement for whole India as a mass, in which all mass mobilization could be seen. And he had worked between 1919 and 1992 very much. These years were very important for those movements, and we will discuss about them later. So our next subtopic is the Rowlatt Satyagraha. So in 1919, Gandhiji gave his first voice, gave a satyagraha, first satyagraha, All India Satyagraha against Rowlatt Act, which British government had just passed. The Rowlatt Act was considered as devilish by many leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, like Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who considered this act as devilish. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was a leader of All India Muslim League. So they considered this act as devilish because according to this law allowed British governments, British officers, British police more power than before, because in this, according to this act, they can arrest anyone with no trial, and they can arrest them for 2 years and could not show them to the court. So this was very criticized because they had no basic rights. People had no basic rights. So Gandhiji gave a call to Satyagraha, which came to be known as Rowlatt Satyagraha, and it was started in 6 April 1999. So British also tried to suppress it by brutal measures, by beating people by force, and on 13 April 1999 on Baisakhi Day, a Jallianwala Bagh massacre was done. As in this massacre, many people were killed by Britishers, and it was inflicted by General Dyer. So that was a Baisakhi Day, and many people came to meet at a park, at a Bagh which was named as Jallianwala Bagh. So Britishers thought that many political leaders had went there to meet for their Rowlatt Act, for their Rowlatt Satyagraha. So General Dyer ordered his officers to fire, and many people were killed in this massacre. So after this, the Satyagraha was called off. This was the first, you can say, all India Satyagraha led by Mahatma Gandhi. And after this massacre, many people showed anger, many people show sympathy to those. Rabindranath Tagore, who received many prizes, showed his anger by calling off his knighthood, by calling off his prizes which were given by Britishers, because during that time he was also a literature man, so he was also given prizes, that was knighthood. So he called off, he denied all those prizes in anger. And in Rowlatt Satyagraha, Mahatma Gandhi's point was also that Hindu and Muslims from both regions took part in this Satyagraha. So this was his mean, that people from all through India, from all religions, for all castes, from all genders, took part in that, so that because he saw India as land of all people. So this was the Rowlatt Satyagraha, which was led by Mahatma Gandhi. So our next subtopic is Khilafat agitation and the non-cooperation movement. So as I said that Mahatma Gandhi was trying to join all people from India, from all religions, special caste, gender, racism, against of racism. So for this, Khilafat issue was such an issue from where people from Muslim religion supported him. Because in 1920, Britishers composed a very harsh treaty on Turkish ruler, on the Emperor of Turkey, and he was also called as Khalifa. And people of India were very outraged with this, especially the Muslims of India were very outraged with this, as they had been in Jallianwala Bagh massacre, because Khalifa was considered as sacred, as a guru, you can say as a teacher, and all Muslims saw him as their leader, who had sacred text, who had sacred things. So they were very outraged by Britishers and asked Gandhiji to lead a movement, non-cooperation movement, and Gandhiji also supported them, and he led a movement which was called as non-cooperation movement. Non-cooperation movement, that was they didn't have to cooperate with Britishers, they had to non-cooperate with Britishers. And many people supported him, because in this he raised issues like Punjab wrongs, like wrongs that were done in Punjab, like Khilafat issue. Many issues were raised in this, and people from many students left their colleges, left their schools, left their equipments, schools bag, etc. things. They led bonfires on foreign clothes. Many lawyers such as Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das, C. Rajgopalachari left their practices, and they boycotted Britishers, they boycotted legislatures, and people supported in various ways, like they set fires on foreign clothes, like they left all things that was manufactured by Britishers. They were using their own things, their Indian things, and that was the non-cooperation movement. They were non-cooperating with Britishers, and this movement was led in 1921, and its main momentum was from 1920 to 1922. So our next subtopic is people's initiatives. So the non-cooperation movement was started. So different people led their different initiatives. It was not that all people supported in same way. Different people have their different initiatives by the basis of Mahatma Gandhi, by the oppose of Mahatma Gandhi, but their goal was same. Their goal was the Swaraj. Swaraj means independence. So many people supported Gandhiji by their own, and Gandhi was a believer of non-violent. Many people supported him by the view of non-violence and many in the view of violence. Like in Khera, Gujarat, Patidar, peasants raised voice in non-violence manner against the high revenues that were collected by those, that were collected by the British officials, that were collected by zamindars. So they raised their voice against those. And in Tamil Nadu, in the coastal area of Andhra Pradesh, liquor shops were picketed by people. Liquor shop were fired, set up fire, were picketed by people. And in the Guntur district of Andhra Pradesh, in the forest of this district, peasants and tribal people led many different kind of forest satyagrahas. Like they used to free up their cattle to the forest to graze and without grazing fee, because these were their own rights and Britishers were depriving them. They were deprived by Britishers, as we have already seen in the previous chapters, that tribal peoples were deprived of their own rights. So they led different forest satyagrahas and they declared, they said that Gandhi's Raj was about to set up, was about to established, and they said that they were supporting Gandhiji, they were supporting them in the non-cooperation movements, and different people led their different, like in Bengal, Muslims were also supporting because they were already outraged by Khilafat agitation, Khilafat issue. So this led to an strategy, this led to an unity in them, so that they could support in that movement, in non-cooperation movement. And in Punjab also, Sikhs took part in this movement, in national movements, because they were outraged with corrupt mahants, that were those were granted money by Britishers. Mahants were those who used to teach in Gurudwaras of Sikhs. So they were outraged and they demanded to suspend those from Gurudwaras because they were corrupt, they were taking bribes from Britishers. So different parts of country, from different parts of country throughout the country, people had their own initiatives to support Gandhiji. Like in Assam also, tea producers, tea laborers supported him. They asked for more money, they asked for more salaries, because they were given very less money, they were given very less salaries. So they were asking for more salaries, and they said that Gandhiji ka Raj, Gandhiji ki said, they were trying to support this. So from different parts of country, people supported by their having their own initiatives. So our next subtopic is the People's Mahatma. So as I have said that people were supporting Mahatma Gandhi from every religion, from every part of country, and he was considered as a kind of Messiah. People were thinking he was a kind of Messiah who would help them in overcoming their misery, their poverty, their problems. He would help them in Swaraj, in occupying Swaraj, in occupying independence. And Gandhiji was thought that he wanted class unity, not class conflict. He wanted to unite all people of India, not to conflicts between them. And peasants and zamindars and peasants and agricultural laborers were thinking that he would help them, he would support them in their fight against zamindars, in high revenues, in laborers, because they were treating very badly those. Zamindars were treating very badly those poor peasants. So they said that they were doing in the name of Mahatma Gandhi. And Mahatma Gandhi was a believer of non-violence, who believed in non-violence, not in violence. People from different parts of country were doing things in name of Gandhiji, like tribal peoples who were doing things, and people were that achieved something, people who achieved something declared that it was Gandhiji's winning, that Gandhiji has won that demand. Like the peasants of Pratapgarh in United Provinces, now Uttar Pradesh, United Provinces is Uttar Pradesh. So peasants of Pratapgarh in United Provinces had achieved against the illegal eviction of tenants, and they thought that Gandhiji had done this demand, had overcome this demand. So people who were achieving things that said that it was Gandhiji who done this, even though they did done, because as you know, if a leader is teaching you, is leading you, and if you have achieved something, then you will definitely name him, you will definitely give credit to him. So similarly, people were giving their credits to Mahatma Gandhi. He was considered as a Mahatma, a great soul. So this was about the people's Mahatma. He was considered as Mahatma because he had led many movements. He was a believer of non-violence. So the next subtopic is the happenings of 1922 to 1929. So the Mahatma Gandhi, as you know, I have already talked about him, that he was a believer of peace. He believed in peace. He was a believer of non-violence. He didn't believe in violence. And because of this reason, he abruptly called off the non-cooperation movement in 1922. The main reason for this was that participants who participated in this movement set fire on the police station at Chauri Chaura, and 22 policemen were killed in that fire, and they had set fire because those policemen were taking brutal measures, were setting fire on their movements, in their peaceful movements. So because of this conflict, because Gandhiji was a believer of peace, so because of this conflict, he abruptly called off this movement, and he said that they had to teach the people of rural area, they had to they had to empower they had to make powerful their base, because if the base was not strong, then how could the movement be any longer? So for this they used people to influence, to teach about the movements, to give teachings to them, and leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, like Chittaranjan Das suggested that they had to fight in elections, because before in 1920, when the movement was being held by Mahatma Gandhi, other leaders said that they didn't have to fight election, but when the movement was called off, these leaders said that they had to fight elections, and other changes took place also from 1922 to 1929, because this period, these years were very important. Between these years, there were only happenings, there were only changes, there were new resources coming, organizations coming. There were not any movements, but the starting of the movements were there. Organizations like Rashtriya Swam Sevak Sangh was also organized, was also established, which was a Hindu organization, and the Communist Party of India was also established. And in 1929, the final decision was declared of the Congress that they had to fight for Poorna Swaraj, that means fully, completely independence. And it was not that between these years only the peace was done, only the non-violence movements were done. Revolutionary nationalists were also there, whose goal was same as those. They had to fight for their Swaraj, because different people make different kind of meaning of Swaraj. Some people think that it was peace, some people think revolutionary, but we have to look on both of them, because both had fought their independence, and we are independent because of them. And revolutionary nationalists like Bhagat Singh, like Sukhdev, like Chandrasekhar Azad had done also many things. They founded an organization which was named as Hindustan Socialist Republic Association, which was founded in 1928, and in this organization they used to do work. And on 17th December 1928, Bhagat Singh and B.K. Tutt assassinated a police officer, Saunders, whose name was Saunders. They had assassinated him because he was responsible for the cause of death of Lala Rajpat Rai. Lala Rajpat Rai was also a revolutionary nationalist, was also a movement who used to do movements, and when in 1927 Britishers had set a commission which had to come from Britain, and his leader was Lord Simon, and there were no Indian representative in that commission. So Indians were outraged because the commission was being held for them and there were no Indian representative. Then how could they manage it? Then how could they accept this? So for this, when they were arriving in India, with the leadership of Lala Rajpat Rai, people said, Simon, go back. People started quote, Simon, go back, and started a kind of revolt against him. So for this, Lord Saunders ordered to lathi charge, and for this Lala Rajpat Rai was died in that. So Bhagat Singh and B.K. Dutt assassinated policeman Saunders, and after that people considered that he was a killer. They were killer and they were very bad. They were not helping India. They were not doing work in India, and after that they threw a bomb in Legislative Assembly, but their aim was not to kill any people. With that bomb, a letter was also there, a message was also there that there had not been any injury, that they didn't have to, that they didn't want to injure, they didn't want to hurt any people. Their main way was to surrender them. Their main objective was to surrender them. And on 23rd March 1931, Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Rajguru were hanged up by British officials, and they were martyred. So you can see that people were martyred by Britishers, were killed by Britishers, who also did some work for the independence of India in the revolutionary method, in the peaceful method. So these were the all happenings of between 1922 to 1929. So next topic is the march to Dandi. So in 1930, Gandhiji said that Purna Swaraj would not come by its own. We have to fight for it because it would not come by own, and fight in the sense of movements, in the sense of peaceful manner, not in the brutal actions, not in revolutionary mode. So he said that we have to fight for Purna Swaraj, and in 1930 he wanted to break salt law. According to this, British government had monopoly of the manufacture of salt of every province of India, and Gandhiji and followers said that it was very sinful to impose tax on salt, because it was a very common item for everyone from rich to poor, and British were also clever, and that's why they imposed high taxes on salt, a common item like salt, and because of this poor could not afford it, and for this Gandhiji and his followers marched to Dandi, a place in Gujarat, from Sabarmati to Dandi, which was a coastal area, and there he founded natural salt. He made natural salt. You know that it is very easy because it was a seashore, and he boiled water and then he found salt, and through this march to Dandi he broke the salt law, and because of this his popularity was also spread throughout the country. And he did this salt act, he broke this salt act because everyone was united from rich to poor in this march, because everyone participated, everyone wanted salt. And Britishers also did something on their part. They acted as brutal action. They did brutal actions. Thousands were sent to jails. You know that many people were sent to jails. Even the jail were being, you can say, completing by those. So, but situation changed in 1937 when the Government of India Act of 1935 declared that they can fight in elections, declared of the autonomy of the Congress autonomy in elections, that they could fight in elections, and Congress formed 7 out of 11 provinces, and in 1939, after 2 years of their ruling those provinces, the World War II broke out. You know that the World War II broke out, and from Germany it was Hitler, who was the enemy of humanity because he was doing things very hazardous, which was against humanity. So Congress thought that they would help Britishers, and in return they wanted independence after World War II. But Britishers refused completely because they didn't want to independ us, didn't want to leave us, and Congress yet thought to help them in the World War II, but Britishers completely refused to this. So this was the march to Dandi. This was all about it. So next topic is Quit India Later. Quit India, which was a movement led by Mahatma Gandhi, and later what happened later after it. So after the period of 1922 to 1929, around 1930, Gandhiji said that we have to make a new movement, we have to initiate a new phase of movement, and we have to fight. He declared that do or die, and you must fight for Purn Swaraj. Quit India movement, as from the name you say that he is asking to quit India. He is asking Britishers to quit India. He asked Britishers that you must quit India, and the movement was started. Many participated in this movement. Peasants and youth participated, who gave up their studies just for this movement. And Gandhiji, Jawaharlal Nehru were also jailed by Britishers, because Britishers were also afraid of this, were also annoyed by this, because anyone didn't want to movement in his or her country. So Gandhiji, Jawaharlal Nehru were once jailed, but yet the movement didn't stop. It was continued because a good quality of leader is that in the absence of him, how about his followers? What are they doing? Because the leader is good, he is giving things, teaching good things, then his followers will also do something good, in their proper way. So they were jailed, but yet the movement continued, and around 1943, by the time of 1943, Britishers had arrested more than 90,000 people, 90,000 Indians, because they didn't want any movement during that time, during the Second World War, because they were already busy in their war. So how could they handle that movement? So you can see that they had given many orders, and during this movement many people, you can say, which were Rajas before, earlier they were Rajas, earlier they were Nawabs, declared their autonomy, declared their independence from Britishers, declared that this state is mine, this province is mine, and many provinces had set up their independence by this. So this was the Quit India movement and what happened after it. So the last subtopic of this chapter is Towards Independence and Partition. So around 1940, the Muslim League, the All India Muslim League, asked for their own separate states where Muslims could rule, where Muslims could live, because they were seeing seeing different Hindus and Muslims, they were seeing separated, they were asking separate states for their own. And in the earlier phase, in the starting of this demand, they didn't want any partition, or you can say Pakistan, and they wanted their own states in the northwestern part of India, in the eastern part of India, eastern, northwestern, you know that there is Pakistan which was partitioned, and in eastern there is Bangladesh which was before Pakistan, and in 1971 it was freed from Pakistan and is called as Bangladesh. So the Muslim League was asking for their own states. You might have been thinking why did they want? What was the problem? Because they could live with India, with this subcontinent, with unity with other people, with other religions, but they didn't, because they were seeing Hindus and Muslims different. They were seeing that they were different people and they could not be united, and they wanted their own. And they were thinking, the Muslim League was thinking that they had influenced Muslims. The Muslims were showed by this league. The Muslim League was the shower of Muslims, of all Muslims of India, was only the influence of all Muslims of India. But that was not true. Congress was not accepting this, because many Muslims were the leaders of Congress as well. They were supporting Congress as well. But the unjust demands of Muslim leagues were there. Muslim League, All India Muslim League, they were demanding for their own states, because the main reason was also there in the provinces election of 1937. There was minority of Muslim League, and Congress had performed majority and Muslim League minority, so they had to be second freedable. They had to be in second part. They could not be in the first part. And when they wanted to be joined with Congress to unite, to rule the United Provinces, which is now Uttar Pradesh, the Congress totally refused, and that made League very annoyed. And that's why they wanted their own states, and other reasons were also there. And when the elections again came, and their league performed well, and Congress as well. Congress performed well in general constituencies, but Muslim League performed in the seats which they had reserved. And in 1946, they were demanding for the partition of India. They were demanding for a new country, Pakistan, for the Muslims, and they were demanding. These were the unjust demands. These were considered as unjust demand. But many Muslims were supporting them. Many people were supporting them, were asking for them. And for this, Britishers sent their three mission, you can say, three people mission, and Britishers asked those three people to find a solution for this conflict, to find the problem and its solution as well. And in 1946, when it came to India, it saw all matter, it recognized all matter, and it came to be a solution. It said that there is no need of partition of this subcontinent, of partition of this country. This can be unity, there can be unity, all people can live in unity, but Muslims had to be some states with their own autonomy. But Congress and Muslim both were not satisfied with this solution, and Muslims declared 16 August 1946 as a direct day action. They declared as a direct day action to the partition of India. Many riots came, many people were killed. Many riots came from Calcutta. In Calcutta, many lakhs people were killed. Many had to flee from their home. Many things were set up fire. So as you could see, you can see that there was a joy of independence as well as the sorrow of the partition of India, because people had to suffer so much. Many peoples were killed, many riots were there, and there was everywhere blood, you can say. So this was all about the chapter about the national movements between 1870s to 1947, about the India, how was it formed, about the partition of India. and the partition of India was very complicated, you can see. So this was all about the chapter. Our chapter is completed. I have discussed all topics and subtopics, and in next video I will discuss next chapter. So thank you very much.